Vicky, your stream is live now, and now you can make me a co-host, and your tia Rochelle will be here, and she will carry on with you.
All righty.
Until then,
Wonderful.
until then, I am here to help you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Anne. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We have Marcus coming in and have a good crew today. How's everyone doing so far on this Friday?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And I love your background, Lynn. It looks beautiful.
Thank you. I'm pretending I'm rich.
Yeah. Aren't we all? Yes, I have my good old Get Set Up background. It's about as rich as you're going to see today. Hi, Carl. Good to see you. Christina's back. Hi, Christina. Marcus, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Doing
Great.
good, thank you.
We have a few more folks coming in. I love to see people's backgrounds and pictures. Here's Hank. All right. Everybody wants to know about browsers today. It's an important topic. Hi, Hank. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Good.
I love to see people's faces. We're coming into the weekend. Although during this shutdown, the end of the pandemic, every day it's like a weekend. It's hard for me to know. It's all good. And I'm wondering, has anyone had a chance to hop on and take a look at any of our upcoming speakers? We have some guest speakers that are coming in. I signed up for one. It's a guest speaker of the photographer, the White House photographer.
Oh.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, we've had some really interesting folks that we've been bringing on to our guest speaker series. We've had CEOs of like Zoom and Evite, excuse me, and some, folks who were working in very large top, executives of some of the big investment firms to ask them questions. Really interesting stuff. I also hopped on to our first guest speaker was Rick Steves, who has had a TV show for decades about travel. He was really fascinating. So if you're looking for something different, hop onto the Get Set Up website and just search on guest speaker, and you'll see what guest speakers are coming up. Really just, what a great idea. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. We may have more folks joining us, which is, always just a wonderful thing. And let me go ahead and share my screen with you. And by the way, today, if you have any questions at all, feel free to just unmute yourself, ask away. We also are going to be monitoring the chat. If you have any questions or comments, just put them into the chat. And one thing that I do ask folks, if you could just mute your microphones, because we have all kinds of background noise going on, just out of consideration for others, mute your microphone. And then if you have any questions, please just, unmute and ask away. It's all interactive.
Am I on mute?
No, now you are, Christina. Now you're on mute. And if you tap on the unmute button on your Zoom bar, that will unmute you. So yeah, and if you ever want to, you're still muted, just so that you know, And Christina, do you see that unmute button on your Zoom control bar? It's probably at the bottom of your
Yes.
screen. Now you're unmuted.
So you can hear me now,
I can hear you now.
but I want it to be on.
Now you're muted. You got it. All right. I love it. Learning all the time.
Hi, Vicky.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good, I'm
Good to
looking
see you
forward
here.
to this.
Wonderful. And Carl, I am going to be talking about cookies I may not get to extensions, but definitely cookies. So thanks for asking that question. All right.
So it's a baking show?
Yes, it's amazing.
Just kidding.
Yes, we'll be sharing all my cookie recipes. People are like, cookies? I thought I was here to learn about web browsers. You are. Welcome to the world of high tech. We'll talk about that too. Thank you. So first of all, welcome everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Vicki, your Get Set Up Guide. I'm calling in from San Jose, California. That's Northern California for those of you, who are in other parts of the country or the world. And I live in the heart of Silicon Valley, so no surprise. I worked in the high-tech industry for over 30 years, doing a number of different things, including technical support, lots of technical training and instructional design. I have had the great fortune of teaching students from around the world, some folks who are very technical, but others, maybe more like yourselves, who are just starting to enter this world of technology, trying to figure what it's all about. And being a guide with Get Set Up lets me do what I love best, and that is to educate folks about technology. So just a little bit about me, for those of you who haven't met me yet. And I also wanted to introduce on the call with us is Rachel. She is with our Get Set Up support team. And so Rachel is going to be helping me monitor the chat. So if anybody has any technical issues as well, please let us know. So just a shout out to Rachel there. Since we're a learning organization, we love it when people turn their cameras on so we can see each other. But I do understand some folks may be eating, maybe your camera's not working well today, and you may be, or you just are not feeling comfortable. I leave this up to you. This is your call, but we love it when we can see each other. This class is being recorded, and if you would like a copy of the recording, you can send us an email at help@getsetup.io. And just let us know the name of the class as well as the date that you took the class. For those of you who are joining us via live stream, welcome, hello. You can hear and see everything we're doing today, but really the best way to fully participate in class is to register for a class. Today, I'll be sending after class notes. You'll be receiving an email from me. If you're joining via live stream, you won't get that email. And also for those folks in live stream land, you won't be able to enter questions in the chat or unmute yourself and ask away. So that's why we love it when people actually register for a class. And just know that Get Set Up is a training organization. We're not paid as guides to promote any products, specific products or services. We're all about the training. And we offer classes, interest groups, social hours, 7 days a week. We have offerings in the US, the UK, India, Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore is going to be coming on board as well. So we're offering options 24/7. And for those of you who've been taking classes or think that you might want to host either an interest group or a social hour, there's something you're passionate about that you would like to share with others, we have a new button on our website. And if you click apply to host a session, it'll send us an email and just let us know what you're passionate about, what you might, the type of the session you might want to host. So we love bringing in our our members. Love seeing them host sessions, so much fun. And lastly, if you've been enjoying the classes, social hours that you've been taking with us, invite others to join you. Again, we've updated our website recently, and you'll notice when you register for a class, you'll be able to click on the invite a friend or send an email and let others know, invite them to join classes with you. So we love to share the learning when you register for a class or book a class. Also, for those of you who are on the go these days, the weather's nicer, things are opening up, you can attend classes, you can view classes, social hours, participate on your mobile, on whether it's a tablet or a smartphone. So take your classes with you. All right, what are we going to talk about today? So obviously web browsers. We're going to talk, what are web browsers? What are some of the common features that all web browsers share? Some of these features you may not even be aware of, and maybe give some ideas about, how would you select a particular browser, one over the other? So that's going to be the focus for today. Let's start off by talking about what is a web browser. So a web browser is an application, and it's installed actually on your device, whether you're using a smartphone, a tablet, I'm on a Windows laptop today, a desktop. So you open up a web browser, what it does is it displays web pages. So that's what you're using as a web browser. It comes installed with your device. And depending upon the device, there are different web browsers that come installed with your device. And it just displays web pages, websites. So that's where we're going to start from. That's what a web browser is. Again, it just displays web pages. So these are some of the most often used web browsers. These are the major ones: Chrome, Edge, Safari, Firefox. And these are the companies that make them. And remember, we said web browsers are installed with devices. And if you're working on an Apple device, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, you will automatically have Safari browser installed on that device. If you're working on a Windows laptop, like I am, Microsoft's Edge browser comes with your device. Now, I also use Firefox, and that's what we call open source. So you can download Firefox from any device and use that browser. And so you're also not limited just because Chrome comes installed with your Android or your Chromebook. You can download other browsers and use them, with some exceptions, on your device. So I actually use different browsers depending upon my mood, but typically I'm using Chrome or Firefox. Those tend to be my two. So those are the major web browsers. And again, they're used to display web pages that you find on a website. And let me know if you have any questions so far about anything I'm talking about. So these are the major web browsers. There are others. Yeah, Christina, did you have a question? I saw your hand raised. You can just unmute yourself. Just tap on that unmute button. There you go.
Okay, so I was just wondering if there's an advantage of the other ones, because I tend to use Chrome. I've never heard of Edge, but I do have an iPhone, so now I have Safari. And then
Okay.
Firefox reminds me of what was that called? My accounting program from back in the
Program.
day.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about that. I will get to that. So thank you for asking, because there are other people, I'm sure, who have the same question. We'll talk about one over the other. And sometimes it's just personal preference. You've gotten used to working with one. You're like, no, this is good. But just know that there are other web browsers that are out there. And As you can download some of them to your device and say, oh, I sort of like working with this one. So, yeah. Thanks for the question. Browser versus search engine. So we talked about this idea that, you're using a browser to display a web page, whether, you go to get set up and from your browser and it shows you all the different web pages. The other thing that you're going to see when you're working with a browser is something called a search engine. Now, browsers are installed on your device. A search engine is another application that you run in your browser, and all the search engine does is it finds something. It goes out to the web and it locates different results based on what keywords you've entered into your search engine. And so the search engine actually runs on the internet. It's not installed on your device. And some search engines that you're using, you may not even be aware of. There's Google has a search engine. Bing is Microsoft's search engine. Yahoo is Yahoo's search engine. And again, when you open up your browser, you then have the option when you go into that search field, which we'll talk about. What you're doing is you're invoking a search engine. And it's the search engine when you type out, apple pie recipes, the search engine goes around the web and they locate any web pages, websites that deal with, apple pie recipes. So that's the difference between a browser and a search engine. And I'm going to demonstrate this to you. And when you open up, I'll go ahead. I'm using my Firefox browser here today on my Windows machine, just because. When I open up my browser, I can actually search. I can determine which search engine I use. So for example, if I just type out google.com, I'm now using Google search engine. Or maybe I want, let's go to yahoo.com. And now this is Yahoo's search engine. They all do the same thing. They just have a different look and feel. And to be honest, I don't use Yahoo's search engine because I find that it's a little too busy for me. I get a little crazy. And so that is, your search engine, you type out some keywords, events in San Francisco, and then it goes out to the web and it returns information to you. And again, this is through your browser. I'm using a search engine to do this. Any questions about browsers versus search engines? They do different things. And so let me know if you have any questions about that.
You don't have to download these different browsers?
You can download certain browsers if, so for example, let me go back up. If you're working off of a Windows, like I have a Windows laptop, the Edge browser automatically is installed. You see it on your desktop, you're like, oh, I guess I'm using Edge. But yes, you would, if you wanted to use Firefox, for example, you would open up your, browser, and I would just type out, download Firefox, or just type out Firefox, and you would get to a download page from there. And you do need to download different browsers other than the one that came with your device if you want to use them. Yep, they're free. You just type out, for example, I'm already running, but you'll see Firefox download here, or, Chrome download, or whichever browser you would like. They're free and you just download them, because remember, your browser is an application that's actually installed on your device, whether it's a phone or a tablet. I just happen to be working off of my my laptop today. Yeah, great question. Any other questions right now about the different web browsers, search engines? Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about web pages. And we already mentioned the fact that a browser, its job is to display different web pages. So the search engine goes out, based on different keywords you've typed in, it'll return different results. And then usually when you select one of those results, you're brought to a website, and then the browser takes over and the browser is displaying these web pages on a website. So just a little bit more about web pages, and don't worry if this is going over your head a little bit, just nice, cocktail discussion throw out there. So when you're working off of a web page, what's happening behind the scenes is these web pages, they are files, and they're files that are created by something called HTML. And HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. Hypertext Markup Language. I just put that in the chat for those of you who want to see what it actually looks like. And it's a language that is specifically used to lay out web pages so that when you go to, Amazon.com or getsetup.io, what you're seeing is, when you click on a different button, when you scroll up and down, if there are links, all of these different features on a web page have certain behaviors. And that is due to this HTML language that's used to create these pages. So you'll notice that when you use different browsers, they all operate in much the same way. They may have a slightly different look and feel, different colors and fonts, but really all the browsers have the same features, but they all display the web pages in a certain way, and there's always the same look and feel. When you click on a button, it does this. When you hover over a link, it does that. And the reason why the browsers all have the same standard functionality is due to this World Wide Web Consortium. It's an organization also known as W3C. It's composed of about 500 companies, and here are some of the big players, but there are more. They've come together because their role is to standardize the look and feel of the web. And this includes how web pages are created, how they're, what their functionality is, so that there is this uniform functionality across web browsers. And so that's what the consortium is there to do, just, big picture. And this is why when you are using different browsers, they all pretty much do the same thing. They just have maybe, slightly different styles, and looks, as you could see when I bring up different browsers. So that's web pages. Anybody have any questions about this, the consortium or web pages? Now,
Are some safer than the others? More
they're-
secure?
They all provide a lot of different security, because that's, part of being in business. When I talk about some of the differences, we'll talk about maybe performance. We'll talk a little bit about security, but really all of the big browsers, their business that relies on security, keeping everyone secure on the web. So if they're failing, then they're out of business. But yeah, and we'll talk about the differences too towards the end of class. But these are great questions, and everybody has them. So thank you for that. So there are some browser tools that are common across all different browsers, whether you're using Safari or Edge or Chrome or Firefox. There are others, but the big ones, and they all have a set of features of functions that are available to them. And we're going to be going over each one of these. Some of you may not even know they're available in your browser. And so we'll start by talking about this thing called an address bar. So the address bar, no matter which browser you're using, it always appears at the very top of your browser window. And this is where you will enter what we call either a URL or an address. And really the URL is nothing more than, getsetup.io, amazon.com. This is the address of a website, and this is how browsers go out and find different websites. They each have their own unique address. And so you'll go ahead and you'll enter in the address. And by the way, you don't have to type www. You can just type, getsetup.io or netflix.com, that kind of thing. So this is where you'll find it. And if I were to go up here, this is, another website that I have. Let me just bring this down here. It's a little bit easier for me to work with. Sorry about that. Just want to resize this so I can make it easier for us to work off of. And so I'm here. I have my Firefox browser open. And again, you'll notice over here, I have my address bar. So no matter which browser I'm bringing up, it always has this address bar at the very top. And this is where I could just type out, good old Amazon.com. I need to come up with some better websites. And you're right here. And now I'm on a web page, and it's just displaying these web pages. So this is the address bar. And really what you're doing is you're typing out the address of a website that you know. So that's the address bar. And again, no matter which browser you're working with, they all have this address bar over here, this field. In addition to the address bar, you also have a search field. Every browser has this. And this is where you'll typically enter text to search on something. So I want to show you the difference between using the search field and the address bar. Let me just hop back up to my browser. Let's go back over here. And I'll just go down. Let's go back. I'm just going to use my back button. I'll get rid of this search over here because I want to show you what the difference is. So again, here's my search, my address bar, excuse me. Here's my address bar up here. Here's my search. If I wanted to get to the Get Setup site, if I go and type out getsetup.io, it then brings me directly to the Get Setup site because I typed out the website address, boom, it brings me right there. Now, if I click on my back button over here to get back to where I was originally, in my search window, and by the way, each browser positions its search field, some may be down at the bottom here in the middle, some may be towards the top, but they all have a search field and an address bar up here. If I were to just type out Get Set Up and press my enter key, it goes out and it does a search. And so I'm here and it's like, well, probably this will bring me to the main site, but you'll notice, okay, oh, this says something about Facebook, Get Set Up in Facebook. Oh, this looks like a news site. So what I'm trying to show you is if you search for Get Set Up in your search, the search field over here, it will return a number of different results typically the first one that it shows you is probably the most relevant, and you'll see that you can actually get to the Get Set Up main site here. But just know that, you know, as you're searching through here, there's going to be other results served up. If you select this, it'll bring you to Facebook. This looks like an article that was written about Get Set Up. So that's the difference between typing out getsetup.io here and then just typing out Get Set Up, because there may be times when you don't know the address of a website. And you say, well, let me just search on it. And most of the time, the first item, item in the results will probably most likely bring you to the website, but not always. And so that's the difference between the search field and the address field. Now, that being said, you actually can search for items in the address bar as well. So you can do both here, just to let you know. But typically, the address field is really, if you specify a website's address, it directly brings you there. So you have a little bit of flexibility here. Anybody have any questions so far on the search field versus this address bar up here, address field? Okay, just give a holler. So this is the search field over here. Let's talk a little bit about tabs. So tabs are so useful. Again, all browsers allow you to use tabs. And what you can do is you can use a tab to open up one or more web pages or websites at a time. And simply by selecting the different tabs, you can hop back and forth between these tabs. So you can keep multiple websites open on your browser, and they each are running in a different tab. You can actually run applications. If you're using an online application, you can have multiple applications running as well. And so you don't need to close a website to open up another one. You can keep multiple websites open by using this thing called tabs. So for those of you who aren't, comfortable with this, I'm going to, in my address bar, I'm opening up Get Set Up. And the way that you open up another tab, and this is true for no matter what browser you're working with, you'll come up here to the top of your browser window and you'll always see this little plus sign. If you click on this plus sign right here, it opens up a new tab. And so I might go to Google, and I've logged on to my Google account, and I'm going to open up, now I'm sitting in my Google Drive. So if I click on my Get Set Up tab, I still have the website running. If I click on this second tab, I have my Google Drive open. If I click on another tab, I can search for something, best, apple pie recipes. And then I could say, oh, this looks pretty good. All right, it has a video too. I could be running a video. I could be going out to YouTube and viewing a video here. And so again, simply by clicking on this plus sign and running, you can select different websites. You can have all of these going on at the same time. You don't need to close a website to open up another one. And if you wanted to close a particular tab, you go up to that tab, you use you can, in this case, I'm working with a mouse, and you simply tap or click on the X button right here. And so that is how you work with tabs. Anyone have any questions about working with tabs? For some of you, they're like, yeah, know about this. Other people are like, never quite knew how tabs worked.
Vicky, isn't there a way to look at two tabs side by side?
Yeah, you can. So one of the things, that's a great question. One of the things that I've done is, you notice that I have this other web, web browser open here. That's another thing. It's sort of an advanced move, if you will. You can actually click and drag a web browser. Let me move this up here. Sorry, you might not be able to see this. And let me just close this down. One of the things that I did was if I can click and drag a website, and now it opens it up as a separate window. And let's go back to my other, where did I put it? Right here. There's my other window. And so this is separate now. I've dragged it off of my web browser bar, and I now have a separate browser tab. So you can open up multiple browsers, and you can just, I would say the easiest way is you'll probably need to just, that's the way I do it. I just resize it so I can see 2 in 1. So that was just something I wanted to show you. And then if you wanted to move this back up, you would just click and drag this tab back up to your browser bar.
Is that a right click or left click?
Left click. Yep, left click. Any other questions about working with tabs? Okay. Bookmarks. So this is another tool that's available no matter which browser you're working with. And just like you use a bookmark when you're reading a book, bookmarks allow you to flag, if you will, or bookmark a website or websites that you use frequently, that you visit frequently. And what they'll do is that you have the option to place that bookmark on something called the bookmark bar, or you can put it into another folder in your bookmarks, not bar, but it's called other bookmarks folder. And so let me show you how to do that. I'm coming up here and I'm opening up a new tab. And I'm in my Google search engine. So let's go back and search on, I don't know, apple pie recipes. So here are my apple pie recipes. If I click on a particular website, this one looks pretty good. It has a video and all the ingredients I need. So if I like this, I'm like, I want to bookmark this particular website. I use it. I think I'm going to use it a lot. So again, it's very similar on each browser. You'll see that there's a little star here. And when you hover over it, it says bookmark this page. So you'll click on the star. And then what it's going to ask you to do is give this bookmark a name. And I just may say, well, apple pie recipe. I think that's, I don't need to have the whole thing there. And then where it says location, if I click on this down arrow, I can place this on the bookmarks toolbar. And let me show you what that does. I'm going to click on save. And you'll notice right over here, this is my bookmarks toolbar. And whenever I open up this browser, when I click on apple pie recipe, for example, if I close this tab, let me open up a new tab. If I click on my bookmark, it brings me to this page, to this website. If you didn't want to save it on that bookmark bar, if I click on my little star here, where it says location, and this is available for any browser, I could put it into something called other bookmarks, or I can even make my own bookmark. So if I'm, there's another folder called other bookmarks, I could create a new folder and type out recipes. I can save it under recipe. And so what will happen now is, let me just bring up another tab by clicking on that plus sign. I no longer have apple pie on my toolbar here, but your browser always has a folder called other bookmarks. If you click on that, there's my new folder called recipes. And inside that folder, that's where I'll find that apple pie. And so I want to show you how to do this, because as you start bookmarking lots of websites, if you put it on your bookmark bar over here, you're going to run out of room. You can always just say, just put it in my other bookmarks, but sooner or later that bookmarks, it starts to get really long. And I like to add folders and organize my bookmarks that way. And so that's bookmarks, just a quick and dirty. And no matter which browser you're working on, it's the same. It has the same functionality. You'll always see that star. Safari works just a teeny bit differently, but the same exact idea. So that's bookmarks. Let's talk a little bit about this thing called private browsing. So every single browser has this ability to go into this private browsing mode. Some browsers will call it incognito mode. I think Chrome does that. When you go into private browsing, it actually opens up another browser window, not even a tab, a whole nother browser window. And in private browsing, as you visit different websites, your browsing history is always recorded. Now, in a browser, in a private browser window, as soon as you close that browser window, your searching and browsing history is deleted. It's no longer there. This is a nice thing to do. Maybe if you're sharing a device with others and you're all opening up the same browser, maybe you don't want other people to see your browsing history. So in that case, what you'll do is you'll go and use you'll go into private browsing mode. Now, I have a note here that says going into private browsing does not make you anonymous to websites that you visit, which means that cookies are still collected. But it does mean that your browsing history, the different websites you've been to when you opened up your browser, as soon as you close private browsing window, those are no longer saved. So let me show you how you go into private browsing. So I'm up here, I'm going to click on a new tab. And so depending upon the browser that you use, I'm in Firefox. It has these 3 horizontal lines. Chrome has 3 dots. If you click on this menu bar here, one of the things that you'll see is new private window. If you're working on Chrome, it will say, incognito mode, but you'll look for this private or incognito. And what it does is it opens up a whole nother browsing window. Now, typically, with Firefox, it has this purple background, and different browsers, some open up with a black background. They have, it looks like a little mask over here, that the Green Hornet used to wear, or Batman, the little mask on your eyes. And you are now in private browsing mode. It's a browser. You can search, you can get to any website you wish. The only thing it doesn't, that will not happen is when you close this browser window, any of the websites that you visited, they're no longer saved. So if somebody brings up this browser, Firefox, I have somebody else log on to this machine and they go into Firefox, they will not see any of the websites that I visited in that private browsing window. Anyone have any questions about private browsing? It's available. Most people don't even know it's there. And again, when you open up a new tab, because I'm using Firefox, I just click on this icon over here. In Chrome and in Edge, it might be 3 dots. So just always look for the 3 dots or the 3 horizontal lines over here. Okay. So we talked about private browsing. Saving passwords. That's another feature that's available to all browsers. You can turn on a setting in your browser to save your passwords. And this is great for websites that you visit frequently. And if you can never remember your user ID or password, when you turn on this saving passwords option in your browser, what will happen is when you go to a new website and it asks you to log in, if you create a new user login, you'll get a message that pops up that says, would you like to save this user ID and password? If you select yes, then what's going to happen is your browser will start saving these usernames and passwords. So let me show you what that looks like. Again, I'm in Firefox. I'm just going to go to a new tab here. I'm going to click on my 3 horizontal bars. These may appear as 3 dots on your browser. Typically, you're going to go into settings. For some browsers, it may be options. So if you don't have a settings, it'll say options. And then you always want to look at the privacy and security area. That's where it's going to be. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And for here, for Firefox, it says logins and passwords. And you'll see I've selected ask to save login and passwords for websites. By default, when you first start using this browser, this will be turned off. But I've gone in and selected it. And then down here where it says saved logins, if I click on this, then on the left-hand side, you'll start to see these are all the different websites that I've been to. And these are my, some may have a username and password. If I click on the little I over here, by default, the password is encrypted, it's hidden. If you click on the I, the little icon that has an I, it will display your password as well. So that's where you can find your user credentials. If you've gone ahead and in your settings or options menu, you've turned on this setting for save logins and passwords. And we have a where is it in Safari? Well, I'll be happy to save passwords. I'll put that in our after class notes, Terry, if that's okay. Save passwords in Safari. I'll put in a screenshot for you, just because I don't have Safari loaded on this, this particular machine. And so that's a nice to know about saving passwords, because I don't think folks realize that it's available. And you do need to turn on the setting. And once you do, when you go to a new website, let's say that that says, oh, would you like to, you need to add a username and password, you'll then be prompted, would you like to save this? And if you say yes, it'll be available now in this saved logins list. Mobile passwords, let me just see. I'm going to go back to this in a minute. Well, while we're here, mobile browsers. When you're working off of smartphones, tablets, again, you have browsers that come with your device. We're going to talk about this in a moment, but when you're working on a mobile device, obviously it's smaller typically than your desktop screen or laptop screen, MacBook screen. And so you're working off of like a compressed version of the browser. But again, no matter which browser that you're working with, they all, when they're serving up these web pages, they all work the same. So when you tap on register, it will bring you, something happens. It will bring you to another screen. So when you're on a mobile device, just like when you're on a laptop or a desktop, the different browsers work in a similar fashion. Now, one of the things that I've called out over here, depending upon the device that you're on, the browser will have different navigation icons, and that's what will differ. So you just need to get used to working with the different browsers, just like there's different, slightly different look and feel if you're working on a laptop or a desktop. Now, we have a little test for you. And again, this shows you just how uniform everything is. I don't know if anyone would know which browser is Chrome, which is Safari, or which is Edge. I don't know if any of you want to gather or take a guess. I'll be happy with, A, B, or C. So if for those, I mean, it's hard to know, but I'll just go ahead and tell you that Safari is the last one. That's right. Yes. So this is Safari, and these are the Safari navigation icons. B is Edge. And then the first one, number A, is Chrome. So this is, again, they all look so similar, but you navigate through them using different icons, navigation icons. And it really just depends on the device you're on. And just know that the look and feel once you've opened up a website is always going to be the same when you're on that website. Any questions about that? All right. Now, Carl, as promised, we're talking about cookies. So let's talk about secure websites first. Obviously, security is on everyone's mind these days, all the different hacking that's been going on. You will know if you're on a website that is secure because it will have this little lock here, and it will also say HTTPS at the very front of the website address. So what does it mean, a secure website? So when you're working off of a secure website, for example, Amazon.com, sometimes you'll need to be entering in username, password information. If you're having something, if you purchased something and you're having something shipped, it's an address, it's a name. This is personal information. So as data is being, you're entering data, maybe your data is being transferred back and forth. On a secure website, that data is encrypted. So as it's traveling across the internet, if you have people who are snooping, who are spying, to them, if you were to look at data that's encrypted, it's gobbledygook. You have no idea what's in there. That's what encryption is. So as it moves from you to Amazon and back again, it's always encrypted. Now, websites that don't use encryption, that are not secure, you'll see that their address starts with HTTP once you've hopped on their website. That just means that any data that's transmitted back and forth is in pure text, and you can actually see the data. And so, for example, let me just go up here. I'm going to close this. Here I am. I'm on, Taste of Home. You'll see that it says HTTPS, which tells me I'm on a secure website and it has a lock. So if I were to log in, if I were to, have something, sent to me, if I were to enter my address, all of that data is being encrypted and no one can see it. So that's what we mean by going to a secure website. And I would say if you're going to be purchasing anything or entering in any personal information into a website, make sure that it's secure and that you see the lock or you see HTTPS. So that's secure websites. Let's talk a little bit about cookies. So and again, this isn't a baking show. Cookies is just a name that, the world of technology has come up with. They're information that's stored on your browser and it's collected from websites. Websites require cookies in order to work. So typically, cookies really are information about your session, username and password. It doesn't contain things like social security or financial information. And let me show you how a cookie works. So I'm just going to go up. Let me close out my apple pie recipe. I'm going to open up a new tab. We'll just go to the world of Amazon. I happen to have something in my cart. Let's just say I'm going to search on coffee makers. And I'll select one and let's go ahead and add it to my cart. So I now have in my cart, I have two items. I'm going to actually close the tab for Amazon.com. So I've just closed out of that window of that website. What's happened is cookies have been collected on my browser. They know who I've logged in as, and they know that I've purchased 2 items in my cart. So if I go back to Amazon.com, it still knows it's me. This is session information, and here's my information. It still has my cart information filled. And so even if I move from web page to web page, my session information is saved. Anything I've put in my cart is saved, and that's because of cookies. And websites need these cookies in order to, be able to keep your browsing, if you will, experience ideal. Because if cookies weren't being used, as soon as I clicked on another web page, it would lose all my information and I'd have to log in again. And so that's what cookies do. And you do need to enable them. Any questions about cookies and what they do?
How can we erase cookies?
You can go into let me just go back over here. I'm going to open up another tab. And if you have to, you can go into your settings. I'm just going to search on cookies. There are ways that we can delete cookies. I usually use Chrome, so cookies from unvisited sites. You can go ahead and delete cookies. Here we go, delete cookies and site data when it's closed. So there may be times when you want to clear your cookies. Maybe you've been having a problem at a website or with an application, and they may say, clear your cookies, close your browser window, open it up again. And so that is a way that you can clear your cookies. You don't want to stop, you don't want to disable cookies because that could break different websites. But every single browser has a way of clearing your cookies and deleting cookies. And you can delete it when Firefox is closed. And then as soon as you open up Firefox again and you visit different websites, the cookies will be collected once again. Yep. Carl, did you have a question?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that when you go into Amazon and order 2 things and they're in your cart, why does Amazon have to pass that information to your browser? Your browser doesn't need that. When you log into Amazon, it knows your cart. It doesn't have to pass on cookies to the browser. I don't understand that.
That's how it knows, because your browser has those cookies. When it brings up the website, it remembers that information.
Yeah, but I'm sure Amazon can remember what I ordered from them when I log in.
but there, yeah, but there are also other pieces of information that are being saved, session information. And then if you didn't have those cookies, it wouldn't, as you move from different tabs to different tabs throughout that website, it has to retain certain session information. Otherwise, you're going to be forced to, every time you move to a different page within the website, it may say, you need to log in again, it'll just, so it's the uniformity of, it's the experience. It does need to save certain user session pieces of information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Thanks for asking. All right. Let's talk a little bit. I know we're at the hour. My apologies. I want to end this in this class with talking about which browser might be of interest to you. So here are the major web browsers, and these are the different, again, what they work on, the different devices they work on. So Chrome, you can use on any device, whether it's an Android device, an Apple device, are you working off of a Windows machine? The same thing with Firefox. It works across all different devices. Edge works on almost all devices except for a Chromebook. Apple, this is Safari. Apple is a hardware company, to be honest with you, and they want you using their devices. So Safari does not work on Windows 10 devices. It won't work on Android devices, whether it's a Chromebook or an Android device. So just something to think about when you're thinking about web browsers. And then finally, how do you pick the browser that works best for you? Sometimes this just comes down to user preference. I like how it looks. It's easier for me to navigate. Again, if you're working on, with Safari, you'll be able to use them on Apple, Apple devices. Otherwise, depending upon the device you're working on, you might opt for Chrome, Edge, or Firefox. And just know that when it comes to performance, the Chrome browser can be a little bit more of a resource hog. So if you have lots of tabs open on a Chrome browser, it could start to slow your machine down. It starts to, it's very secure. All of these browsers are secure. They've been around, Chrome's been around for a long time. So is Safari, Firefox too. Edge used to be Microsoft Internet Explorer. They've just repackaged Edge. They're all secure. Firefox, Edge, they're a little bit more lightweight. They don't use as much of your computer resources. But again, they're all very secure, as is Firefox. So just, things to think about. This idea linking with mobile devices. So what's really nice is that if you have your browser open, let's say I have Chrome open and I have 5 different tabs open on my browser. I need to leave the house. So I pick up my, my phone, my smartphone. I'm in the car, but I need to go somewhere else. If I open up Chrome on my smartphone, it will have those same tabs open to me that I opened up on my laptop. But you need to work off of the same browser. So if you had opened up Chrome on your laptop at home and you had the 5 different tabs open, if on your phone you open up Safari, those same tabs won't be available to you. So again, if you're, you might want to think about, if this is important to you, being able to go from one device to another and just automatically have those tabs available to you. You have to do it you have to be using the same browser. So just something to think about if that's important to you. All right. I went over a little bit, my apologies. We threw out a lot of information here. We talked about, browsers serving up web pages. That's their job. We talked about search engines that go out to the web and find results based on whatever you've typed into that, the search field. We learned a little bit about secure websites, what cookies are, not the kind you eat. And then we threw out some ideas about, the different browsers, performance, some are just more a personal preference. They're all secure. And that's really going to do it for me today. I want to thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your questions. I'll be on for a couple of minutes after class if there are other questions that you have. We have a lot of other classes out there, folks. So if you're interested in Zoom, we have lots of classes, advanced classes for Zoom. If you're interested in the cloud, we have OneDrive, Google Drive, iCloud. We also have Dropbox. And then my next class today is going to be Understanding the Cloud. I'll be teaching later on Zoom virtual backgrounds, I think next week, and also Google Duo, which is a free video calling app. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to stop my share. Let
Thank
me
you
know
so
if
much.
you have any other questions. I hope this has been useful to folks.
It has been. Thank you.
Understanding a little bit more about browsers, because nobody
Very
really
helpful.
stops and teaches you. They just say, open this up and type something in. So at least you'll know what's going on in the background.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
You're
very much. It was
welcome.
very good.
Thanks a
You're
lot.
welcome, everyone.
Thank you,
Take care.
Vicky.
Thank you.
Hope to see you in other classes. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you staying on, Vicky?
I am. If you have any questions,